Welcome to AP Podcast, another episode. I'm here with Mr. Manifestation himself. My hair's a state. This man looks great. Tasmanian Devil is out and about and ready to go. Just recently been signed up to a Misfits fight. We're going to discuss a little bit more about that, as well as the origin of Taz. How you doing, Taz?
How you doing, mate? Nice to actually finally talk to you. I mean, it's been in the works for a while. We've been trying to set it up, but finally I'm here and yeah, let's get it going.
All good to go and all ready to go. And I see you've got Carl Weathers in the background there. Obviously, there is no tomorrow. How are you
Yeah.
feeling, obviously, at the moment, just with your fight coming up?
I mean, yeah, I'm feeling great, really. The opportunity, everyone's, going on about it, but at the end of the day, to me, it's just another fight.
Mm.
Like, it may be on a bigger platform, but which I'm grateful for. But really, it's just another fight for me. It's something that I've been working for my whole life, and I'm training really hard for it. But I don't look at it as nothing special. At the end of the day, no matter how many views you get, how many likes, or all the hype around this such a big event, it doesn't really matter because the hands is the only thing that matters in boxing and or in fighting, and that's the only thing I'm focused on. And it's quite funny because the opportunity came at like such a random timing. Well, I've been really pounding it at Misfits, and I've really been trying to knock at their door, and finally it came, and it's like a real life Rocky story, as you can see over here. Big fan, and it's like every kid's dream, really. Like any boxing fan or fitness fan, it's that getting to live that Rocky story is it's like a dream come true. But a lot of people don't want to live that rock bottom. But if you actually want to live that Rocky story, you have to hit rock bottom. And I have hit rock bottom, and I just want to serve, I just want to serve as an inspiration to people
Mm.
out there.
Absolutely. And look, there is a big dream, obviously, for a lot of people now, depending on where you see it, obviously, but taking a pound in the ring under the camera and the lights is absolutely what everyone dreams of. Obviously, take as you will from that. It could be through boxing, it could be from other things and outlets and so forth. But what is the origin of Taz? Where do you sort of originate from when it comes to your story in boxing?
So in my boxing, it's funny because I started when I was a kid in the Philippines. So as you may know, that boxing is a massive thing in the Philippines. So I was just fighting in the streets, really. Play fighting, just out in the streets with just people your age or a little bit older. We would do it at the back of because I used to live in a like a village, and up in the mountains, it was I would just play fight with my friends or people from different villages, and we would just actually be boxing. And that was how I was introduced at a young age, around when I was like 6, 7 years old. And then eventually at 10 years old, I moved into England because my parents work here. So I had to come here and, start a new life, so to speak. And at that time, I was extremely homesick, and it was very difficult for me adjusting. I didn't know a single word of English. I didn't, yes, no, maybe, that's it. And boxing was like basically a home for me. So I found boxing, set up a little punching bag in my, it was a flat back then. So we had a spare room, and that's where I would actually just hit the bag. Like I remember at the beginning, because I was so terrible at boxing, uh, I would actually go in the bag for like 2 hours, like every day, like after school, just 2 hours every day, because that was like my only like home. That was my only friend, so to speak. I didn't know how to speak English. I didn't know anyone really. So that was the only thing that could like, get me by like every single day. And from then on, that's where my passion for boxing started, and I actually started learning English when I started listening to, Muhammad Ali. So that's how I actually started to pick up English, like watching Ali, those guys, and also Prince Nassim. Those are the guys that I grew up watching. Which is surprising because Prince Nassim, I didn't know he was actually British. I thought he was from Saudi or something, which is quite fascinating. But that's how I started, and then at the age of I want to get it right, like I was like 16. I had my first amateur fight. That was it was tough because it was hard to get my parents' permission. But having strict Asian parents is very difficult to actually go into the route of your passion, or creative type of endeavors and anything in sports that isn't as safe, which I understand, but at the end of the day, it is also my life to live. Which I understand from them, but eventually I did get one. Unfortunately, I lost my first amateur fight. And then after that, I kind of just fell off, like got in with the wrong people, bad habits, the typical story of like having great talent and potential, but never really living up to it. But then in 2017, 2 years later after that, because in my first fight, I actually dislocated my shoulder.
Mm.
So that's like the rehab kind of like took a toll on me mentally as well. So I just started going out, hanging out with friends. And in 2017, I finally focused on it. And it was in a Queensbury show. It was a white collar. It was one of the biggest white collar leagues in boxing in England at that time. And I finally had a shot, but things didn't go my way again. And it's just like setback on setback. I just lost, and things didn't really go to plan because of like training, dehydration, like a lot of things just like went wrong during that camp. And it kind of just like it discouraged me a lot. And after that, I was like, I don't think this is for me. And I started listening to people that said, you're just too small, you're not good enough, you're never really gonna be anything, you're not gonna, make anything out of this. So I just listened to that and just kind of like stepped off for a bit, started working, and that's when I really kind of like fell off. And when I fell off, that's when I started, getting into bad habits like eating, falling into depression because like you're in such a dark place that you just can't get up,
Mm.
you know. Um, no matter how hard you try to get up, it just feels like, you know, one step forward, two step back, and it just keeps on pulling me back. And I actually suffered for that for like 6 years, and I didn't even know. I can't even remember. Like time really goes so quick. It just literally, if you fall into like the darkness, it just covers your whole life, and time just doesn't feel like it's there anymore. And so I was there for like 6 years, really. Like honestly, mate, I was like 105 kg. Oh, sorry. Wait, let me just sort that out. Uh, oh good, yeah. Yeah, I was 105 kg, like struggling mentally. I was just I was just in a dark, dark place. And that's how I started my boxing journey. That's like the journey of my boxing, really. Like there was a lot of setbacks, pitfalls that I never really, like I said, my battle really is outside the ring. Like most of my fight, I had to fight and overcome myself outside of the ring. That's the only thing stopping me, really. And finally, in 2023, just last year, that's when I started everything, getting back to my passion and trying to fulfill my dreams. I started to finally listen to the other voice of saying that you are good enough. Because we only really have two voices, that you're not good enough and you are good enough. And so I started finally listening to the voice that says I am good enough and that my dreams has a value. So I started pursuing boxing again. The weight loss was a bit difficult, but I managed to lose 40 kg during that time.
Incredible.
And then after that, that's when I started training, started contacting, Misfits, like, hey, set me up a fight. I've been in contact, I've been in touch with man for like a year or so now, just trying to like, knock on the door. And finally they caved in. And then last October actually, I don't know if you still remember it, but I injured my shoulder again.
I saw
Um,
that.
but I was actually supposed to get an amateur fight. I was preparing for an amateur bout, but unfortunately the shoulder just kind of like gave in, my left shoulder, and that was just um like a setback that I thought, would really just put the nail in the coffin, so to speak. But it actually motivated me more to push and keep going. And now I'm here. I have an opportunity to fight in one of the, biggest platform right now in boxing, especially in the influencer scene, which is Misfits. And I'm blessed to just really have it. So that's the journey of my 16 years in that boxing. So So yeah, that's the story of it. And now it's just the beginning of greatness.
It's a real, like as you say, it's a real rocky story. And I think what's amazing as well, it's a perfect example of one manifestation as well. You've manifested this, and it's now you're now living it out, and it's now
Oh
coming
yeah.
to fruition. I think as well, it's the old saying of obviously God makes work for idle hands, and it's the same way if you believe in God or the universe. The universe will treat you in a certain way and challenge you because it believes that you strongly can push through it. And if you
Yeah.
persist, if you're tenacious, that pullback then soon becomes the pushback if you just show it enough resistance. And I think you've really, really shown that now as well. And I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see what you're going to be like in the ring. I've seen a couple of clips of you on the bag, and I'm rapid. You're super quick. I feel like sometimes it looks like it's even like sped up the footage.
Fed
I know
up.
it's
Yeah, I get that a lot. I
incredible.
take it as a compliment though. I take it as a
Yeah,
compliment.
oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, if you see me live, that's just the way I am. Always been. That's always been my. Like I said, I've always had the skills, the talent. I just never really got the opportunities. Now I
Mm.
finally get to show that. But going back to what you said though, because I feel like this is important for anyone that's like struggling out there. You said like manifestation and like having faith in something that bigger than yourself. And I understand it's very difficult to see and believe in something that you can't see, right? Like having faith, religion, whatever it may be, spirituality, believing in yourself. But really, there are things far beyond the reality of like, the confines of our reality and our that actually works, whether we think of it or not. So the simple thing of just like believing in yourself, like it attracts energy, and that's what life is. And that's ever since I started putting up positive energy and self-belief, amazing things has happened. Because before I used to doubt myself. I used to always say like, I ain't good enough, or I won't be prepared, or no, this ain't me. Like, but yeah, it happened. So I feel like mentally, if you just focus on yourself and believe in yourself, there's so much greatness that you can achieve. Like you'll be so surprised because I've done all of this just in the space of 1 year.
Mm.
Just in the space of 1 year. Like I've lost 40 kg. I've gotten an opportunity as Misfits, and that's just 1 year after starting everything. After essentially being dead. Like I was gone. Like I didn't use social media. I didn't post anything for. I don't know if you followed me before. Um. Uh. You know when I started, but 6 years ago, that was the last post like I ever did. And then when I started posting again on Instagram and social media, things started blowing up again. And now on my YouTube, I'm up to I think 7K subscribers now. Which thank you by the way, who for everyone that's like subscribing and following my journey. Thank you so much. But yeah, like I just started out of like what 1,000 just like a year ago. I know it may not sound a lot, but for someone that really had nothing, that was like a massive thing for me.
Tremendous amount of growth, isn't it? And again, it goes back to that consistency and just persisting through your challenges. I think that is phenomenal. Now, I want to talk about the training camp. So you say you've just started your training camp as well. What's changed from whilst you were ticking over to right now in terms of your routine?
Well, really, for the last three or 4 months, I was just recovering from my shoulder injury. Before that, everything was going great. I was fit. I was actually, around fight weight. I was just hovering around 65, 63, that weight. But obviously, once I got injured, I started hovering around 65 to 70, around that weight. But I was doing mainly like strength and conditioning, as you probably saw in my stories, like, building power, because that's the only thing that I could really do at the moment or at that time. So got into like strength and conditioning, lifting a little bit of weights here and then. But like now that I'm actually starting my training camp, is going back strictly to boxing because you don't really want to put too much mass size in boxing because muscles don't win your fight. It's the punches that do, and the more you can throw punches, then the higher the chances of you actually winning. So really, you want to be as lean as possible, carry as little baggage as you can in order to deliver, the volume of the punches. So right now, I'm just focusing on everything else like boxing wise, like technique, skills, fitness, and put in the high pace, for a longer period of time.
And do you find at the moment, are you training once or twice a day?
Some depends which days. So most days I train twice, but sometimes it's just one. So if it's like sparring, for instance, like today is a sparring day, so I just trained that once. Done a few rounds with the good people like WBC Middle Eastern champion and undefeated pros. So that's like I'm not putting my sparring into something that's my first sparring like in a while, and I'm not doing it just to get my confidence, so to speak, right? To like get on someone that's lower level than me and then just beat them up and like, oh, you know what, I'm good. No, I'm pushing myself every single round, every single second, like getting better and better. And in order to do that, I need to ensure that my training partners, my sparring partners, are all better than me.
Mm.
Because that's I'm a student to this game and I respect this game a lot, and that's what separates me from a lot of these influencers, and that they're really just there for the paycheck or for the the fame. I'm not there. Of course, getting on a bigger platform, people will get to see me more. It will be beneficial for them as well. But for me, it's just really getting to showcase my skills, and most importantly, though, I made a promise to myself that no matter what, I will make my dream come true and live my best self. So like I just want to see I've seen my worst. I've seen my worst now. I want to see what my best is. I want to see who that guy is. I want to see what that guy has to offer to the world. So that's what I'm currently building and training myself towards right now.
Absolutely. And I think just going back on that as well, like, so you mentioned your dream. What is like your ultimate dream in, let's say, 5 years' time when it comes to boxing or just in
Well, that's a big one. But obviously everything takes time and I understand that and I'm patient with everything. But my ultimate dream is obviously to become a champion, like a world champion, world level champion. And you know, you can never dream too big. So why not take being an Olympic champion as well? Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
So my absolute dream would be that and to win it for my country, to win my country's Philippines first Olympic gold medal in boxing. That would be an absolute dream for me because I love my people and I just want us to actually succeed in that and finally bring them that goal that's been so elusive for us for so many years because we've nearly gotten there, like getting so many silver medals, but we never really quite got the gold.
Mhm.
So that would be my absolute dream. And then after that, like, world championships. But like I said, it's a process. And this is a platform for me to actually build upon that. Because it's obviously not world class level, in the misfit scenes, but it's still good enough for the start.
Absolutely. Now, your training partners you mentioned, obviously, I think this is something that's really, really key in any sort of form of boxing training. So I don't know about yourself. I believe it's the same, but whenever I've trained for a fight, it's mostly about the mental game, the fitness and strength that all comes with it. But it's mostly sort of surround yourself, obviously, with people that are better than yourself, doubling up your standards, doubling up your accountability. So when it comes to that walk to the ring, you're 100% you've left no
Yeah.
stone unturned. And going into that, I always find it relaxes myself quite a lot. Like going into the ring, knowing full well I've been up against like solid sparring partners that are no way going to be any less of an opponent than the one that's in that ring on that night. And I think that is such a humongous mental game when it comes to anything. And I think that's one of the biggest parts of boxing, I think, in terms of keeping yourself confident and accountability, is that you're always punishing yourself within the right way to grow even
Yeah.
more. You're always tearing yourself down to grow to be even bigger person than you already are. And I think that is so important as well, as you say, being amongst those people that help you keep that high standard, keep that accountability, and more importantly as well, just keep that consistency.
No, exactly, mate. Because you have to understand the ring, like you'll be found out. The ring is not. It's the truth. Like I said, it doesn't matter how many followers, how many views you've got, how big you are, how small you are, how rich you are, how poor you are. It's all equal, and the ring only really goes to someone. It will benefit or it will only favor the one that worked harder. So if you didn't do those runs, if you didn't do those sprints, if you didn't push yourself the extra rounds, that will all be found out on the night. And that's why I'm always pushing myself the extra mile, always pushing myself the extra round, every single training. Like if you can get one, try to get two, like always pushing yourself to your limits really. And look, it will all be worth it. All this pain, all this suffering will all be worth it, when it comes fight night.
Absolutely. And I think one example on that, in terms of perhaps lack of accountability without shouting anybody out, would probably be Ed Matthews. I've seen him in a couple of fights, and he's one of those
Hey, man.
a 2 minute man. I relate to that a minute
Yeah.
well. And I suppose you didn't see that. You saw the last fight against Pineda, where he literally just
Yeah,
completely
yeah, yeah.
got chucked out. I mean, he won first round, I suppose, is what he was saying. But again, it's outside the ring, isn't it? There's just no accountability, and obviously he's done quite well to fair himself amongst obviously some of the fighters and get a good sort of account of himself. But he's never really truly applied himself, and you can really tell when he steps into that ring. I mean, what
I,
would
I
you
mean,
say?
he, I mean, he admitted to that as well, because he was admitting that, like, he was smoking weed just before the fight, all the lead up. Like I said, that's what separates the influences to the boxers. Like, boxing is not a sport, so to speak, that you can just play. It's a lifestyle. Like, it's ingrained in your head. Like, when you look at most boxers, the people that actually are about it and people that succeed in it, Canelo, Triple G, Beterbiev, Usyk, none of these guys drink. None of these guys party like that. These guys are just solely boxing. Do you understand? And that's what separates them. And that's the mentality I have, because I've been around boxers. I've literally been in the boxing scene for so long, even though I wasn't fighting. I was doing photography and videography work for boxers. That I've always been, around York Hall, different fights and venues around the country. Like, I've just been around the boxing scene for a long time. That's what most people don't understand. Just because they don't really know me, they don't, they think that I'm just a nobody that just creates random contents or some sort of fitness contents or boxing contents that just got the opportunity. Like, no, I've really been on this grind for a long time, like within the boxing scene. And like I said, boxers are a different breed. Like, fighters in general are a different breed. Like, they just they're quite maniacal and obsessive in the way their life works. Like, everything is just about boxing. You eat boxing, you sleep boxing. You know, the boxers that you really see that are good, they don't really have any other life than boxing. If you look at Tyson Fury, he always says that, like, after this, I'm just gonna, go back to the gym and train. Kind of like Floyd Mayweather. Like, Floyd Mayweather, he's retired right now and he just does exhibitions, but he's still training the same way that he would, years ago back in his prime. Same as Manny Pacquiao. Like, you just can't take that out of a fight because it's a lifestyle. Like, boxing really is a lifestyle. And once you, live it, that's who you become.
I'd completely agree with that. And just in relation to, obviously, to mentioning Pacquiao as well. Now, I myself are a little bit sort of ignorant, honestly, the Filipino style. But what would you sort of liken it to in terms of like how you sort of move? Do you sort of see yourself with that same style as well?
Oh, most definitely, because that's ingrained in me. But I'm a little bit more of a hybrid of, the Filipino style, Mexican style, and also the British style, because obviously I'm in England and, I'm taught the certain way. So I understand and mix it to a way that benefits me and actually the way I fight, because but like, I would say, like, the Filipino style for most people that don't really understand is, when you're a kid in the Philippines, you get taught one thing: hit fast and hit hard. Hit first, hit last. So every single punch that you really throw is gonna, have a lot of impact. And when you see a lot of, like, Filipino fighters, they're firefighters. They really go in there with speed, with power, with tenacity, and they're just really ferocious with it. And that is my style as well. But I'm a little bit more refined, so to speak, because I study the game. Like, I like to box. I'm a little bit more cerebral. Like, I like to counter as well. If you see my last fight, I was actually quite technical. But that fire, that, that dog, so to speak, within, is just ingrained in, like, Filipino fighters. When you look at a lot, so Pappy, if you look at a lot of these, Filipino fighters on the scene, there's a lot of, dogs out there. And that's just really the Filipino way. Like, no retreat, no surrender. Just keep going and, keep hitting them.
And what I find as well, there was obviously with Salt Pappy is a great example of this as well. He's like the smiling assassin. Do you know what I mean? He's probably the nicest bloke on the planet until he gets to
Yeah.
the ring, game over. Now I find obviously yourself as well. I'd say the same thing. I feel like you've got a really friendly aura, but how do you switch that off when you get into the ring?
It's quite funny. A lot of people say this. It's like, But do you remember watching the Avengers when Hulk said like the Hulk was like asked like how do you stay always angry? It's like I'm always angry, like
Mm,
because you don't really switch it up. It's not a switch that you go. It's just a level. Do you understand? And if you just uncover that, you'll see it right there. Like that's me. So I've always had that, fire and tenacity. And I would say, there's a quote from Rocky that says like it's not about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, right? And I would say you're not really a dog, or you won't really understand what a fight is until you've overcome the battles of life,
mm,
right? Because anyone can really take a hit, like street fighters that just get drunk and brawl, they can take a hit,
mm,
right? But boxers and real fighters that get in there, they're the ones that really have to, deal with a lot of stress, mental battles that they go through camp, 8 week camps that people have to stay away from their family just to
mm,
train entirely for a single fight. Those are the type of things that mental battles that people don't understand that are actually what makes champions. Those are the type of things that actually breeds champions. Like, because it's not just how tough you are. Like tough man, like I've always said, tough man don't last in a man's world.
mm,
Like in order to be a man, like a real man, you have to really take the hits of life,
mm,
not just getting out there and start brawling with people, looking for a fight. Life will bring you a fight. And if you take on that fight and if you overcome it, then that's how you become a real man. And I feel like my boxing style has become, ferocious just because of the battles I've enjoyed in life, just because of the suffering I've been through in life that, I've really been through a lot. And that's why when people say, like, oh, like, are you afraid of losing or are you afraid? It's like, I have nothing to lose. I've lost everything. And really, you only have fear out of two things: losing and dying.
mm,
Like, I've lost everything and I've died a million times for this game, for boxing. Through all the injuries, all the failures, all the losses, I've overcome all of those and still rose above it. So I know mentally, physically, I'm in a state where I am able to rise.
I think you summarised that perfectly, especially when it comes to the mentality of boxing as well. The ability to sort of just uncover the sole root of why you're doing what you do, and how obviously you can sort of switch things up when you get into that ring, you know. And I think it's
Sorry, let me
so.
just draw my camera.
Um,
Yeah,
I think it's so important to have that ability that you are dangerous, but you can control that danger, as opposed
yeah.
to again being someone who just flies off the handle so quickly. Because again, I find, especially in boxing as well, and that at that lower level, in terms of like let's say UCWB, charity boxing, those
Mhm.
types of people that are filled with rage, but obviously manage to conceal it a lot more, are so much more relaxed when it comes to the ring.
Yeah,
And I feel like you can almost predict without even a punch being thrown who's going to win that fight. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Who's more loosey goosey, who's more sort of Steve Stiff, if you like, and it's something that really comes to fruition when you watch it as well. I 100% agree with that. One thing I definitely want to touch upon is, do you know your opponent?
Oh, so I don't actually know my opponents yet, but I'm preparing for everyone.
Mm,
Right. So I think there's eight of us, so I could potentially be fighting, any one of those guys all the way from the top to the bottom. But I do understand that they're going to be doing it in separate, two or three separate events. So we're not all going to be fighting, the whole tournament within just one event. So the first ones will be, I'm not really sure how they're gonna do it, but in terms of my opponents though, like I'm just ready for everyone. Like I'm preparing for everyone. Waleed Sharks would be my ideal opponent if I can get him on the first go. He's the number one contender, and
mm,
that would really just be a statement because a lot of these people are saying like, "Oh, I ain't good enough. I ain't this." They just
mm,
really don't know my game. But the people who have known me for years, or not even known me, just been around boxing. When you see boxing, right? You understand the game. You see the technique. You see, the speed, the skills that's involved in certain things. And when you see a fighter, you're like, oh, he can do a bit of damage. And
mm,
everyone kind of like understanding the boxing scene. But the Misfit scene is a bit different because there's a lot of it's a whole different genre, right? It's not a typical boxing fan, so they don't really quite understand that. So that's why they underestimate me, which I understand. But in terms of opponents, I would love to. get my fight with Waleed Sharks, and if not, Lil Kra would be like the dream fight for me because I don't know if you've seen him like Raymu. He's a very aggressive fighter, similar to myself, and I feel like that fight is gonna be like a classic, just like the Barrera Ward fights, the Gatti Ward, those type of rules. And he's really the one that's like really exciting to me. But all the other guys out there are great as well. Like I said, I have absolute respect for every single one of them. But I just don't fear none of them. Like I don't look at one person as like, oh, this one's gonna be like I'm terrified of this. Like I just don't have that in me. Like I just don't think like that. The way I think is just that who's my opponent and what skills do I need to apply in order to beat him? That's the only like way I'm thinking right now.
Definitely. And do you know how long sort of like when the event is actually on as well?
It should be the first event that will be fine, and it should be like around April, May. I'm not sure yet. Nothing's been confirmed. May even be longer than that. Like I can't confirm anything at the moment, but yeah, it should be around those time.
And in terms of like your preparation, one thing I wanted to touch on, because obviously you're massive on energy and manifestation. Have
Yeah.
you ever sort of like ventured into the world of meditation? Do you apply that to sort of training to help with the mentality side of things?
Well, because I'm a Christian, so I'm always praying. So like sparring, before sparring, after sparring, before training, after training, I'm always praying like in the morning, in the night. It's like when Ali said that like if God is by my side, like who can go against me? That's really the mentality that I really have. Like I just don't have any fear in any man because I just don't have fear in my heart because I have God in it. Like I just don't have anything that thinks that's like that doubts myself in a way that I can't do it. Like I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me, and that's why I believe entirely. But in terms of like meditation, I would like to get more into that, just like separating myself just from, like I've heard a lot of, I think I'm gonna start doing like breath work.
Mm.
So like breathing techniques, this and that. So it's something that I can implement. But like I said, right now I'm solely focused on the boxing aspect of training. But I would most definitely look into, meditation, and that's something that I've always wanted to do anyway. Just never really had the time and opportunity or like people that to teach me, but that's something that I know that can benefit me and keep my mind's always calm and at peace anyway. That's why I can just turn it up in the ring and go to war, and that's when the devil starts to come out. But when I'm outside the ring, I'm just like at peace.
Mm. I think again that is so it's so powerful. For me, meditation is something that's always helped, and it's one of those things where you separate yourself almost from the reality of where you are at that moment in time. Whack your headphones in, zone out. You almost forget the world around you for that 10, 15, 20 minutes that you're there. And for me, I practice a lot of gratification as well, being grateful for the things that are in front of me
Yeah,
right now, the tools have been given. And I think that is something that just really helps manifest obviously the positive outcome that is about to happen as well when it comes to fighting, when it comes to feeling little aspects of when you're in
most
the ring,
definitely.
or like the clashing of sort of gloves, the breathing, the sort of noise, everything like that. I don't know what it is, but I remember my third fight, for example. Like I remember making weight, didn't need to make weight the way I did. I was dehydrated, I was really ill, I was quite sick. I remember
Terrible,
fight,
ain't it?
uh,
Terrible, ain't it, being dehydrated?
yeah, it's do you know what? It's one of those things. When because it was I was fighting up against a dude who was a little bit sort of like smaller than me in terms of weight. Now he was 73, I was about 73, but my fear was I'd carb load the night before, and then on day of the weigh-in, that might sort of like completely screw everything up. I might end up being a bit overweight.
Yeah.
Wasn't the case at all. But I ended up weighing in at 71 kilos in comparison to his 73.6. And that was just pure dehydration. I became really ill. I was really sick. I almost pulled out the night before. And the one thing that got me through it was getting to that weigh-in. Anytime I went near any fighters or the ring itself, I felt really, really powerful. And I felt that meditation was really down to that sort of happening. It's almost that manifestation really supported me in that. Then when it came to the fight, I was calm as a cucumber, had the fight, won it quite comfortably, fell asleep on the stool afterwards. But again, it's that mindset, isn't it? Like, I think if there was any other mindset I was in, if there was any other frame of mind I was in, I don't think I would have performed at all.
No, exactly, and that's what really separates the fighters. Like you have to understand that fighters really is fighting is a mentality, and that whatever comes your way, like you said, you was dehydrated, you felt ill, and you just if it's the oh it's overcoming the obstacles, the
Mm.
challenge that the challenges that come your way. It's pushing through that, and that's why like me, everything is a mentality, right? So if for me it's like when something comes my way, I just have to change the mentality.
Mm.
It's like when I get in a fight, it's like if someone weighs in a little bit heavier than me, let's say, right? And then obviously I still have to fight. I'll just have to change up. Like, okay, what if this man came into my house in the middle of the night and obviously he's much heavier than me? Am I gonna say like, hey, excuse me, what do you weigh? Like,
Mm.
do you understand? It's like, no, you have to fight for your life and defend, your life essentially, right? So that's the way I think it. It may be a little bit extreme, but fighting is extreme, and sometimes you just really have to turn up that notch. Like I said, most fighters are psychos. This is not a normal way of living. Like fighting is not, you know, cutting all that weight just like a week before, fighting like in front of thousands or hundreds or thousands of people. Like that's just not a normal way of living. So mentally, you have to kind of have a maniacal obsession towards this game and just the way of thinking.
I would say you live and breathe boxing, and obviously, I think one thing would be interesting as well with yourself is who's Taz outside of boxing? Is he the exact same person like inside? And what do you do outside of boxing itself?
Oh no, so I separated myself. So there's the Tasmanian Devil, obviously. So the Taz and the Devil. The Devil you only really get to see in the ring. But the Taz, I mean, that's me. That's me right now. Like jolly at peace, like I said. I have peace outside the ring, but I have war inside of it. Um, like I have so many different talents as well that I just live, right? Like I solely focus myself not on people, not on gossip, not on like any type of like anything else. I just solely focus myself on my dreams, positivity, energy, because at the end of the day, I feel like our life is dependent whether if it's going to be good or not. It's only dependent by the energy we keep. So if you have a good energy in your life, it doesn't matter how short or how long that is. It's every experience you have in your life is going to be positive if you have a good energy, right? So you can turn it. That's why like I try to experience as much passion as I can. So as you may know, I'm also a photographer. I mean, I'm a filmmaker, videographer, and I also paint. So I've been
Mm.
painting a lot. Like I have a career for that as well. Like I paint outside of it, and then I write, and then obviously create podcast, content, podcast, everything else. I just develop myself. I just push myself in order to develop to a way that I can actually be the best version of myself. um, so that's literally like, and it creates such a happy life, and that energy gravitates. Like people when they meet me, it's like, oh, there's like that certain aura, but that didn't come out of nowhere. That came from manifesting a better version of myself. Because if you met me a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you'd be like, oh, this guy's a downer. Like when you get around negative people, it's like, ah, he's a downer. Like I don't want that energy, and you just feel like down, and you feel sapped of your own energy. But as for me, ever since I started focusing on myself and focusing on self-development, taking myself away from negative people and people that brings me down and doesn't believe in me, life has been great. Honestly, like so much opportunities came, and a lot of people really are blocking their opportunities in life just by standing with the wrong people,
Mm.
just by association, you know? Even though you didn't do the crime, you're still standing next to someone that did, you know?
Mm.
And that's why I feel like that's why when I stopped hanging around with the wrong ones and the bad people, I started living like my best life really.
And I find energy is infectious, isn't it? And I find more in particular myself, I'm so drawn to people who are very, very driven and almost not necessarily, I wouldn't say delusional, but have dreams that would seem too big to the average person. You know what I mean? And to
Yeah.
be around those people is incredibly inspiring. But as I say, it's infectious and it makes you want to work on yourself each day, every single time. And I think that's one thing that boxing brings. I mean, it's very rare you meet someone who trains boxing quite regularly who's either lazy, lethargic, or unambitious. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Everyone's
exactly.
got that drive. And I think being around those sort of people is absolutely incredible. And as you say, your energy is something that influences your environment and the people around you as well, and the people that you choose to keep your time with as well. And I think that is so, so important. Just on the back of that, in terms of what would you consider yourself in terms of personality trait? Would you consider yourself like an introvert or an extrovert?
Oh, I'm most definitely an introvert. Like if I can have a perfect day, it would be just chilling at home, eating good food, with good company and just watching movies or playing games. That's literally if that would be my perfect day. But extroverted as well. If you see me outside, I'm very extroverted, but that's a skill like I
Mm,
had to develop. Um, there would be times that I would be so nervous just speaking to people,
mm,
right? Like I get social anxieties, right? Just being around people and just, in a crowded place. But it's something that I had to work on myself because I understand it's a character flaw.
mm,
So like for instance, before if there's someone like, that needs help outside, I would be afraid to even help them just because I'm afraid to speaking to them,
mm.
right? If someone fell, for instance, right, I'll be afraid to help them up just because I feel scared myself. Like, oh, I'm a shy person. I don't want to like say hello or say hi or help them up. But I understand that if you want to help people truly, you kind of have to be extroverted. So it's a skill that I had to develop. That I had to be personable. So yeah, that's why I had to develop that. But it's not something that I wanted though. Like
Mm.
just to my core. If you see me, I mean, you if guys start to see me like in the Misfits scene, they'll see me just like chilling on my own, just with a few people, just relaxed, laid back. That's just who I am.
Mm. And I find as well, like as an introvert, it's quite draining being around people over time as well. How do you feel like you cope with that? Like, as to say, I know you mentioned that obviously you try and get yourself involved in more social situations, but are there ever days where your social energy, almost all your teaspoons, are empty and you don't have that energy left to sort of like bring yourself out there? How do you sort of cope with that?
I always do, to be honest. Every single day that I go out there, training, just even like going to train and everything, I'm always like sapped of that energy. But I just look at it this way that the way I look at it is that your smile can change the world. And if one person can just see your smile, your aura, that positivity radiate from you, that can change their day. And if that can change their day, they can change their life. You, you really have we have an obligation to the world really to help each other. And I feel like that's a concept that's been lost throughout the years, you know, of everything that's really happened. And there is no more unity. So like for me, being, you know, being drained socially, especially now that I have the platform to actually, invigorate and energize people out there, I have an obligation to make the world a better place, to make people smile, to make them inspired. And that's really just my goal anyway.
That's amazing. That's quite powerful, that as well. Do you know
So
what I mean?
even though I'm tired, like socially, as much as possible, I wouldn't want to do it. It's my obligation to the world because of who I've become and who I've turned into, that it can help a lot of people.
Absolutely. And I think the universe serves you back within that sort of energy. Do you know what I mean? As you say. And if you're more sort of with your manifestation, but also with your sort of like intercommunications as well, that's something obviously that serves you really well. And you build a fan base from that, don't you? Because it's relatable. You're the people's
Yeah,
champion.
exactly.
Love that.
Exactly. That's always what I've dreamt of anyway, because my greatest idol and hero is obviously Manny Pacquiao, and he is the people's champ. I've just always wanted to inspire the next generation. Really, the way Manny Pacquiao inspired me, and like helped me, overcome my fears as a young kid. I wanna also, share that to the next generation.
You thought about what your ring walk will be.
Yeah, definitely. It's actually quite funny because I've created my own mix like
Mm,
of ring
that.
walk back in October. So, like I said, manifestation, right?
Mm,
Everything that I have, like I've just written down,
mm.
like things that I've always wanted, and they've come to life. And I actually like an introduction. What was it? It's like the manifestation king or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like literally like no one's called me that, but it's literally all about manifestation. Because there is no way I would have gotten this. Like, I just even myself, like people ask, like, how did you get this? To be honest, mate, I don't even know myself. Like, honestly, it's just all about manifestation. But in terms of the ring walk, I actually have, you know. a nice little, ring walk. I don't know if you know it, but it's the a little bit of mixture. So there's a little addition before that, and which I think you will like. But mainly though, it's the. Do you know the HBO soundtrack? You know, the 24/7 back in the days.
Do you know what? It's going to take me back a little bit, but I feel like I can sort of roughly sort of imagine what it
It's a
is.
classic. It's a classic. It goes like dun 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 dun
Yes.
dun dun. I remember when I was a kid, that's all I'd watch every single time, like Manny Pacquiao fighting, and I watched like the HBO documentaries. And it's a classic. Like a lot of younger kids may not know it, but for me, it's a battle cry. Like when I hear that, with the real genuine boxing fans, when they hear that play, everyone's just like, "All right, let's go to war." And that's what I'm bringing. Like I'm just bringing war and exciting fights.
Organized chaos. I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to it.
exactly.
Last question I'll leave with. So, with this fight coming up, what is the ideal situation and how is it going to play out?
Obviously, I'm training to win, not just win one fight, two, three, and four, however, like how many like I need to win. I'm going for that belt, and that's really what I'm training so hard for. Like in myself, I have no doubt in myself. I really am going for the top. And I know this is going against, people will doubt me and, people don't believe in me. That's fine. But in order to achieve something in life, you don't need people's permission to get it. You can just go straight after it. And that's where I'm going. So I'm going for the win, whoever it may be. I'm going straight through. Not in a disrespectful manner. Like I said, this is boxing, but I'm just going for that win. You know, you have to understand, I've been boxing for 16 years and I haven't really had a win yet, officially, like on the cards and the records. So you have to understand, I'm the hungriest guy out there. So in terms of, boxing, imagine not eating for 16 years. How hungry would you be? You know? So out there, I'm really the one that's, just hungry and just ferocious for that win. Like I really just want that win. And that's where I'm going after, and that is the ideal one, like I said. But I ain't afraid of losing. Whatever comes my way, I made myself a promise a year ago. Win, lose, draw, whatever comes your way, injuries, setbacks, whatever happens. If this doesn't work out, that's God's will. Like I have no control over that. But what I will always do is keep moving forward, onto the next step, onto the next step. Whatever happens, just don't stop. Because I stopped before, and that's how everything really just fell off. And we don't really fall off in life until we stop. All right.
No,
Sorry.
no, it's all right.
Yeah.
What I find
Uh,
as well, what you're saying as well, just in relation to sort of Christianity as well, it's very stoic. It's very, you're not worried about the things that are out of your control. You're worried about the things that you can control. And I think that makes a man very, very powerful and very, very dangerous, especially when it comes to
yeah.
boxing. You've not got a lot to lose and you've got a hell of a lot to prove. And I think that is something that going to really, really sort of affect your opponent on the night, especially. And I think it's going to be an incredible barnstormer the first fight, and I'm all there for it as well.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
absolutely fantastic. One thing I want to leave on is, what would you say is the most motivational quote that you pass on to another person who's going through struggle right now?
It's not really a quote, it's a Bible verse, but the thing that really got me through last year, that really kind of helped me stay afloat and survive. Because last year was the toughest year of my life. If you only knew the things that happened to me last year, I mean, wow, I'm surprised I'm here. But that verse is whatever whatever pain you're feeling can't compare to the joy that is coming. So, and it's true. I mean, I'm a testament to that because if I just went back last year, bear in mind I only really started boxing again last year, February the 5th. And my fight was announced February the 5th this year. So it's literally like poetic when you think about it. It's like I was looking back here, I was like, no way. Like my first training session, I remember when I went back, I still had long hair. It was the 5th of February. And now I'm here and I'm like, this is just like I'm astounded. Like I can't really believe it. Like I said, I've never really understood when people say like it feels like a dream, but literally just feels like a dream. Like I'm floating. Like I just can't express it. But yeah, that's really the verse for me that helped me really get through life, and it's so simple, and like it just really helped me through all the days, really. So anyone out there, like really, that's my message, my last message to you is that like whatever pain you're going through can't possibly compare to like the joy and the blessings that will come to you if you just keep at it. And I'm a testament to that.
Absolutely. Well, look, you've been an absolute pleasure. The man of the people, Mr. Manifestation himself, looking to make a statement on the Misfits show. It's been a pleasure to have you on, Taz.
Thank you
Guys,
so
if you'd
much.
like to follow Taz, follow him down in the link below. I'll link him to his Instagram and his YouTube as well, and a couple of other of his socials. Taz, it's been an absolute pleasure and a testament to my podcast. Best one so far, I do believe.
Thank you, thank you.
Absolutely happy to have yourself on. Thank you so much for your time.